Alright, hi guys. Today we're going to do curve sketching using complete the square method. So generally we'll be given an equation like this. And of course, to sketch it using complete the square method, we have to complete the square. So just to take note that whenever we complete the square, the coefficient of x squared has to be 1. Okay, so let me just go ahead with this. So you need to divide the coefficient of x by 2. Okay, you should be very familiar with this method. Okay, so here I'm done. So when we are sketching the curve, we need to know a few things. Number one, we need to know whether is it a maximum or is it a minimum curve. Number two, we need to know what is the y-intercept. When we talk about y-intercept, we are talking about where they cut the y-axis. So generally it's when x equals to 0. The third thing we need to know is where are the x-intercepts. So sometimes the name of the x-intercepts can be called roots, solutions, or simply when y equals to 0. The last one that we need to know will be the turning point. For quadratic equations, there will just be one turning point. And turning point we meant by the coordinates of it. Okay, so let's just start off with finding whether it is a maximum or a minimum curve. So number one, to determine whether the maximum or minimum curve, we need to look at what is the coefficient of x squared. You know, sometimes students say coefficient is such a complicated word, but it's actually not. It's just a number in front of the x squared. So if a is actually greater than 0, it implies that it's a minimum curve. One good way to remember it is that when it's positive, you always be smiling, so you get a minimum curve. So when a is less than 0, it gives you a maximum curve. So when you are negative, you tend to be frowning. So this are the curves, okay? So from this equation here, look, we know that coefficient of x squared is 1. So that is greater than 0, so it will be a minimum curve. So, okay. Number two, we want to find what is the y-intercept. So as mentioned, y-intercept is where the graph cuts the y-axis. So that is when x equals to 0. Generally, I will use the original equation, which is this one. Because as you can see, it's much easier to sub in when x equals to 0. So you actually get 4. So the third thing that we need to find is what are the x-intercepts. So that's when y equals to 0. So for this one, use the complete the square form because that will actually cut out a lot of your time. Square minus 5. Okay, because x is in this position, there's only one x here, so you can just bring the 5 over. Okay, remember plus minus square root of 5 because of x minus 3. So I take square root on both sides. So x will be equal to 3 plus minus square root of 5. Okay, and the answer will actually be 0.764 or 5.236. Okay, so now we have found that it is a minimum curve. It is the y-intercept is 4. The x-intercepts are all this really weird numbers. So the next thing we will look at is finding the turning point. So there's actually a shortcut to it and there's a long way to it. But let me just explain to you the long way first. Okay, everything comes from this square here. Is so important because we know that a universal fact is that everything that's being squared is always greater or equal to 0. Even if it's a negative number, when it's squared, it's greater or equal to 0. So we start with this. So we are going to get this equation to come out. So we're going to minus 5 on both sides. So look, this is actually your y. So your y will always be greater or equal to negative 5. That means the minimum value of y will be equal to negative 5. So now, because for turning point we need the coordinate, that means we need the x coordinate, right? So we will have to sub in when y equals to negative 5. What is my x? Okay, this is actually very, very easy. So this is 0 because I can cancel. So my x equals to minus 3 equals 0 and x equals to 3. So my turning point will be actually 3 and negative 5. Okay. Next. But some people think that, it's really, really like complicated to do that method. So there's actually a shortcut to it. Like this. How do you determine what is the x and the y coordinate of the turning point? Just look at this. Just let this bracket be equal to 0. And then just look at this number. This number will give you the y coordinate actually. So you get 3 and negative 5. So now with all the information given, we have the y-intercept, the x-intercepts, and the turning point, we can actually sketch the graph. So for those of us who actually have some problem in visualizing, I think it will be good if you can just plot the points first. So for my y-intercept, x equals 0, y equals to 4. So it will be somewhere here. Then for my x-intercept, it will be 0.764, which is somewhere around here. Then 5.236. So from here, and my middle point is actually 3, negative 5. So it's somewhere around here. So this is 4. Okay, so ta-da! And I can just start sketching the graph like that. So remember, when you're sketching the graph, you always need to label the graph. This is one way that you can do by looking at the y-intercept, the x-intercepts, and the turning point. Another way that we can do it is by graph transformation. So we will need this complete the square form of the equation to help us to draw the curve by graph transformation. So as we can see here, this part will actually reflect the change of the graph by shifting it to the right by 3 units. Okay, this is because it's in the x direction. And for this part, minus 5, it refers to shifting the graph down by 5 units. And it has to do with the y direction. So for graph transformation, we will always need to start off with y equals to x squared. So we will first shift the graph in the x direction. Okay, remember it's to the right. So we will get this. This will be 3. Then after that, we can move on to shifting it downwards by 5 units. So this will give us a minimum point, 3, negative 5. Okay, this is 4. Remember the y-intercept, when x equals to 0, y equals to 4. Then after that, we have the x-intercepts, 0.764, and here is 5.236. So here you go. This is the graph for the equation. So in summary, when we want to sketch a curve, there are 4 things that we need to take note of. So number 1, just do a recap, maximum or minimum curve. Number 2, indicate where is the y-intercept. Number 3, indicate where are the x-intercepts. And number 4, indicate the turning point. So now that you are clear, you can try to work on this equation and try to sketch the graph for this equation, alright? Just take note that this curve will be a maximum curve because the coefficient of x squared is -1. Here's a solution of the question that I got you to do. This is how the graph will look like. So hope that you have enjoyed this lesson and it's helpful for you. Thank you. Bye bye.